Hi, I'm Jeanne Fiorini. Thank you for participating in the Tarot Tips. In this video and the next video, I'm going to talk a little bit about the web of connections. This is part of what makes tarot a lifelong study, in my opinion. There's so many ways you can learn not just about the system itself, but the ways that the ideas of the tarot, the symbols, the images, as well as the archetypes and the significance of each card, how these things can connect with other systems, other truths, other beliefs that exist in the mind of humans' consciousness, really all over the globe. So you could study practically any discipline and come up with something that resonates with an idea that is present in the tarot. That isn't to say that you need this kind of foundation to have meaningful readings, but the things that I'm going to illustrate, things that have come up in actual readings, do show how as you continue your work, study, play with the tarot, in just an organic way. I don't think you have to go out and, set your mind on, learning all you can about the various ways tarot connects with other disciplines. But, just follow what you're interested in. I think that, to do that, you will, like picking up stones along the beach, you will find little gems. Oh, I can think about that card, that idea with this particular card. So this kind of web of connections can really support your readings. This kind of information or knowledge, if you want to say, can help reinforce what's happening in a reading. It can support the ideas around a reading. And also it's just, I've used the term before, accidental brilliance. I think that the two examples that I have in this particular video really show how clients can come up from their own experience with just the right word, which is extremely relevant to the cards that we see on the table. So I'm going to show you two examples in this video, particularly about the power of words, not the words that the reader uses, but the words that a client might come up with, that if it falls in a place of awareness in the reader of other things we might have learned or known about from a different discipline, then that can feed in and really enhance what we're talking about with our client. And in the next video, I'm going to talk more about connections to other systems, ways that particular tarot cards can and have come up in circumstances that are just spot on relevant for a person by their imagery. So let's go to the tarot table. I know that's a lot of words. What is she talking about? But I think it'll be clear as we go and look at the examples. So let's go to the tarot table. The first example I'd like to talk about or to show you is a reading that involved the Hierophant card. It was a reading for a young woman. She's 19 or 20 years old, and she's in college studying astrophysics. And so we did a 10 card Celtic layout to begin our reading. And this Hierophant card came up in the third position. So we have the two crossing cards in the center. This card was in the below position. I consider that position 3. And I read that position personally as an aspect of the client that has something to do with where they find themselves in their life. So we all have many aspects, we all have many personality traits, gifts, foibles, whatever card comes in this third position, I see as information about a quality that they have that's activated by the period of life that they are in right now. So here's a young woman. She's in college, first or second year, I think maybe first year she was in. And I asked her what it is that excites her about the field of astrophysics. What is it? Because you could imagine all the different ways a person might use this training. So I asked her, where do you think you might want to use this? What's your vision? And she said, well, I'm not really sure exactly where I want to channel my interest in astrophysics, but I really get excited when I can make science relevant to the general public. I'd really like to be a bridge between the scientific community and the general public. I get a lot of juice and a lot of excitement from those kinds of interactions. And I said, well, that's very interesting, because you have this Hierophant card in your third position, which shows something that's built in for you. So the Hierophant, it's one of those cards that sometimes people don't like because of the Pope aspect of it, if you have any negative associations with church and dogma and all of that. But the Hierophant, in a broad sense, is the teacher. And in the older decks, this card was called the Pope. The Latin derivative or root word for Pope or Pontifex means bridge maker. Pont, P-O-N-S, is the Latin root for bridge. F-E-X, Pontifex, maker of bridges. The client used the exact word, I want to be a bridge between the scientific community and the general public. She used a word that's directly connected to the significance in a very broad sense about what the Hierophant does. It bridges the gaps in knowledge, the gaps in experience. Specifically, we might say bridges the spiritual with the physical, but it could be the gap between something that's understood here but not quite understood here. So that's what a good teacher does. It bridges the gap. It creates a bridge between the known and the not known. I was quite impressed with the specificity of that word that this young client used. Pontifex, bridge maker. Pontifex, Pope, Hierophant. Here's another example. A client is out there dating, trying to date, meeting new people, and she's met someone who could be interesting, and we asked, what can we know about this specific person? What's their intention toward the client? What's their, how do they feel about the client? We get the Eight of Wands and the Empress card. Now, I always appreciate when the Eight of Wands comes up because it aims towards something. It always points towards something. It can't help it. And it's really very similar whether you turn it right side up or upside down. But it did come like this. This energy is aiming right toward this Empress, practically running toward that Empress energy. My first comment was, well, this person really wants a partner. This person really wants to find a helpmeet, find a nurturer, really is chomping at the bit to be in a relationship. Really, this Crowley calls this card swiftness. It's like, get me into this woman's lap, essentially was the feeling of that combination in this particular situation. Anyway, and the client said, oh, I really don't want to be a part of that matrix. In other words, I don't want to get embedded in that dynamic. It felt a little cloistered, a little too maybe needy for my client. And I said, well, that's a very interesting choice of words, because the word matrix connects to the Latin word matrix, which has associations with the womb in terms of a place of growth and birth. It's got the idea around source, matrix, and foundation. It's also the root word for matrix, is the root word for matter, material, and mother. We have the archetypal mother card. Now, the Empress is a card that's very often easy to look at it in the positive aspect, especially in a relationship. You know, Emperor, Empress, it's the good, it's not the good, but it's a balance of receptive and dynamic energies that can work very well together. But in this case, it really just felt like enveloping, a little too embracing for what the client was looking for. Too much of embeddedness here for her. The use of the word matrix was so specific to the idea of mother, material, matter, concrete sorts of foundational things, that this almost felt like a prison sentence to her. So she's decided to steer clear of this particular person. Now, that's not to say that the Empress is a negative card in relationship, because in other situations, in other intuitive interpretations, you know, this could have come up in a very positive way. So that's part of the enigmatic nature of reading cards, and why book learning is important, but also trusting your intuition is important. That's the subject for another time. The thing I wanted to convey in this particular video was the specificity of words that clients can use. That if you're aware of some background information around some of the cards, it can really flesh out, embellish, support, and reinforce the conversation that you have with your client. So there's some food for thought, and we'll see you next time.